All right, welcome back to High Risk is Cold Cash. Today's episode is going to sound like a mix between a horror story and a how to manual for getting disgustingly rich while everyone else is eating boot leather soup.
Boot leather soup? Man, that was probably on the Michelin menu in 1930.
Exactly. But here's the twist. While regular folks were pawning grandma's wedding ring for bread, a few sharp and, let's be real, borderline ruthless characters were making bank, like life-changing, dynasty-level fortunes.
Yeah, and the craziest part is they didn't just stumble into it. Some of them saw it coming. Like Jesse Livermore, aka the Great Bear of Wall Street.
Livermore is one of those names that makes Wall Street nerds salivate. This dude shorted the 1929 crash so hard that he made over $100 million in profits. That's like $1.5 billion today.
Meanwhile, I get nervous shorting Tesla for like 3 hours.
Right? And Livermore wasn't just guessing. He studied patterns, had informants, and read the room when everyone else was drunk on optimism.
And let's not forget Joseph P. Kennedy Sr., JFK's dad. Man had the ultimate shoeshine boy moment. He hears a kid giving stock tips and goes, okay, if the shoeshine boy is buying stocks, I'm out.
That's basically the 1929 equivalent of your Uber driver telling you about his Dogecoin portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. Like, bro, if you're trading while handing me a sandwich, it's time to sell everything.
So Kennedy cashes out, Livermore shorts, and when Black Tuesday hits, average Americans lose their shirts, their homes, their sanity. These guys are counting stacks.
Livermore's calm flex? He literally sat in his mansion counting profits while the world burned. Imagine Netflix marathoning, but with $100 million in your lap.
Yeah, like, do I buy an island today or tomorrow?
The lesson? Sometimes the real winners are the ones who zig when everyone zags. But here's the kicker. For every Livermore, there were thousands who bet the wrong way. He was just cold-blooded enough to hold the line.
Cold cash, baby. High risk, cold cash.
The market's dead, the bodies are still warm, and here come the vultures. Yeah, billionaires circling like, oh, you lost your skyscraper? Shame. I'll take that off your hands for what, pennies? Rockefeller literally bought so much New York real estate during the Depression that he had to keep a map just to track it all. That's not a flex. That's like Pokemon cards on God mode. Gotta catch 'em all, except it's skyscrapers. Kennedy Sr., too. The man was everywhere. Stocks, real estate, Hollywood. He turned desperation into generational wealth. And don't forget the bond game. Guys like Bernard Baruch and Clarence Dillon were scooping up corporate debt for pennies. Imagine buying Apple stock today for $2 because people think the company's dead. And then 5 years later, boom, it's iPhones everywhere and you're bathing in dividends. Exactly. These dudes weren't just vultures, they were financial necromancers. They could look at a dead company and see the resurrection play. Meanwhile, regular people were literally selling family farms because they couldn't pay taxes. Rockefeller rolls in like, thanks, I'll take this 100 acres for the price of a new pair of shoes. It's dark comedy, man. Someone's foreclosure was another man's discount shopping spree. And here's the moral ambiguity. Yeah, they stabilized industries, but let's be honest, they profited off suffering. Ruthless? Absolutely. Smart? Also absolutely. This is why the channel's called High Risk equals Cold Cash. It's not High Risk equals Warm Hugs. All right, now let's talk about the ultimate sugar daddy, the U.S. government. Roosevelt rolled in with the New Deal, and suddenly public money is pouring into private pockets. Andrew Mellon's Alcoa basically had a monopoly on aluminum. You want dams, power lines, planes? Guess what? You're paying Mellon. The irony is Mellon and FDR hated each other, but Mellon's company still made bank off government contracts. It's like when you hate your landlord but still gotta pay rent. Then you've got Henry Kaiser. Steel, aluminum, dams. The man turned concrete into cash flow. He basically built half the New Deal infrastructure.
General Electric, Westinghouse, Caterpillar, these companies became government BFFs. It's like winning the biggest contract on Earth, rebuilding America itself. And the genius move was they weren't just making money in the moment, they were setting themselves up as permanent titans. Yeah, decades later, we're still using power grids, highways, and machinery built by Depression-era contracts. Those checks never stopped cashing. So the moral here is sometimes being indispensable is the best hustle. Or, as I'd put it, make sure the government can't function without cutting you a check. Bro, that should be on a motivational poster.
So while Wall Street was burning, guess what regular folks still wanted? A little bit of escape.
Exactly. I mean, you can take away people's jobs, homes, even their dignity, but you can't take away their need for a good laugh or a couple hours in a dark theater where Clark Gable is kissing someone prettier than their problems.
Well said. Hollywood during the Great Depression was like TikTok during the pandemic. Everyone's broke, sad, confused, but entertainment? Untouchable.
Exactly. Warner Bros. Thrived. MGM thrived. Disney went from a guy with a sketch pod to basically a one-man empire. Snow White came out in 1937, and it made so much money that Disney bought a new studio lot outright.
Yeah, while farmers were counting pennies, Walt was counting dwarves.
That's wrong, but accurate. And radio. Don't even get me started on radio.
Radio was the Netflix of the 1930s. People would scrape together money for a set, then sit around listening to Jack Benny, Amos and Andy, or Roosevelt's fireside chats.
Sponsors made millions. Procter & Gamble invented the soap opera literally because they were selling soap through melodrama.
That's genius branding. Like, are you crying because your husband left? Dry your tears with Ivory.
That's cold, but they turned human misery into a 15-minute cliffhanger and sold detergent.
Theaters were packed, radios were buzzing, and companies like RCA grew rich. Lesson? Even in hell, people will pay for distraction.
That's why Netflix hikes prices and we still keep paying. Same story, different era.
Chapter 5. Penny Pinchers and the Rise of Supermarkets.
Now let's talk about the real hustlers, the grocery store revolutionaries.
Ah, the supermarket kings. This is where Michael Cullen deserves a standing ovation.
Cullen left Kroger and basically said, what if instead of small, overpriced corner shops, we build a giant self-service warehouse where people can buy everything cheap?
The man opened King Cullen in 1930, the first true supermarket. Think Walmart before Walmart.
And it was perfect timing. Families were broke, so they wanted cheaper food in bulk. Cullen's stores looked like airplane hangars filled with goods.
No frills, no luxury, just pile it high and sell it cheap.
Exactly. Meanwhile, A&P, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, was already huge but leaned into the Depression model. They slashed prices, streamlined operations, and dominated the market.
A&P basically became the Amazon of food. They had over 15,000 stores at their peak.
That's wild, and here's the kicker. People thought supermarkets were ugly and soulless compared to mom and pop shops. But guess what? When you're broke, you don't care if the store looks like a warehouse. You just want cheap beans.
Cheap beans and maybe a sack of flour.
Moral, innovate on price and convenience when people are hurting. Riches follow. Here's where it gets fun. The Depression wasn't just doom, it was also invention central.
Yeah, because when things break down, people get creative. Take IBM. Everyone thought they were doomed. Who needs fancy machines when companies are cutting staff?
But Thomas Watson doubled down. He kept investing in tabulating machines, the ancestors of computers. By the time World War II rolled around, IBM was ready to explode.
Watson's gamble was like holding Bitcoin through a crash. Everyone thinks you're nuts until suddenly, boom, you're a genius.
Then you've got the aviation guys. Douglas Aircraft, Boeing, planes were risky, expensive, but these guys saw the future.
And let's not forget entertainment tech. David Sarnoff at RCA pushed television development during the Depression. People thought he was insane. Who's going to buy a TV when they can't afford dinner?
But by the late 1930s, TV was ready and RCA owned the patents.
So while the average person was tightening belts, innovators were quietly building the future.
The lesson? Chaos creates space. If you can afford to risk, you plant seeds in the rubble.
And later, you harvest cash while everyone else is still crying about 1929. All right, so we've covered the gamblers, the vultures, the supermarket kings, and the innovators. But let me ask you something. What's the most valuable thing during a crisis?
Cash? Gold? Land?
Nope. Eyeballs. Attention.
Okay, now you sound like a TikTok growth coach, but you're not wrong. Whoever owns the narrative owns the money.
Exactly. Enter William Randolph Hearst. The dude had more newspapers than some states had schools.
And he didn't just report news, he made it. If Hearst didn't like you, you basically disappeared from history.
Hearst was like the OG Twitter algorithm. He boosted what he wanted and buried the rest.
That's good. And then you've got Henry Luce. Man built time, then life. He didn't just sell magazines, he sold how America saw itself.
Life magazine dropped in 1936 and boom, suddenly people could see the Dust Bowl, celebrities, world leaders, all through glossy photos.
Photos were like memes back then. A good image could sway public opinion faster than 1,000 words.
And the advertisers lined up. Soap, tobacco, cars. Luce controlled the pipeline between product and consumer desire.
So while people were broke, they were still told, buy this, smoke this, wear this, it'll make life less miserable.
The media moguls made bank on selling not just stories, but hope and fear.
Same playbook today. Crisis or not, media moguls don't starve. Okay, let's move from newspapers to another killer, chain stores.
Bruh, Sears, Montgomery Ward, J.C. Penney, they were like economic Thanos, snapping half of small businesses out of existence.
That's facts. Local merchants couldn't compete with catalog giants. Sears sent out their catalog wish books, and suddenly, some farmer in Kansas had access to the same goods as rich folks in Chicago.
The catalog was like Amazon Prime before Amazon Prime. Order a whole house kit, get a ship by rail, done.
And these chain stores didn't just sell cheaper. They could take losses that mom and pop stores couldn't survive.
Exactly. Economies of scale crushed individuality. It was capitalism turned up to 11.
Of course, people pushed back. There was an anti-chain movement. Some states even tried to pass laws taxing chain stores.
But come on, you think a law's gonna stop Sears? They had money, lawyers, lobbyists, the full package.
So while locals folded, these chains laid the foundation for Walmart, Target, and basically the modern retail monster.
Lesson? In the Depression, the cheapest and biggest usually win. Customer loyalty? Cute idea, but not when your kid's hungry.
Straight truth. Cheap beats charming every time.
Chapter 9. The Bootlegger's Legacy. Crime Pays. Now, here's the part I love. When the government fumbles, who steps in?
The mob.
Exactly. Organized crime thrived in the 1930s. Prohibition ended in 33, so they had to pivot.
And boy did they. Labor racketeering? Check. Gambling? Check. Loan sharking? Oh, you bet.
When banks wouldn't lend to broke families, guess who would? The mafia, at 20% interest per week.
Forget Wells Fargo. Try Tony 2 times financing. Miss a payment, lose any cap.
Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel, these guys built empires. The mob basically became the shadow banking system of the Depression.
And they weren't just thugs, they were businessmen. Casinos, racetracks, smuggling networks. They diversified like hedge funds.
Meanwhile, the government was trying to regulate Wall Street, but couldn't touch the underworld economy.
Which, let's be real, sometimes looked cleaner than Wall Street.
Oh, you're not wrong. Wall Street wore suits, the mob wore fedoras. Same game, different uniforms.
Lesson here, even in collapse, demand for vice and credit never dies. If legit systems fail, shadow systems thrive.
All right, final lap. We gotta talk about the dynasties. The guys who turned depression hustles into generational empires.
Joe Kennedy, perfect example. Played the stock market, flipped real estate, maybe dabbled in bootlegging. He cashed out big.
And then he funneled that money into his kids. Boom, future president, senators, ambassadors.
Rockefellers, too. They didn't just survive, they expanded. Same with the Mellons. They rode out the storm and came out even richer.
And let's not forget foundations. Carnegie, Rockefeller, they poured money into philanthropy, museums, universities, charities.
But don't get it twisted. Philanthropy wasn't just generosity. It was a branding move, legacy building.
Exactly. You give a few million to a library, but your family holds billions in oil and banking forever. The Depression wiped out the middle class, but it concentrated wealth at the top like never before.
And those dynasties still shape politics, culture, and economics today.
So the takeaway? Catastrophes don't kill wealth. They consolidate it.
And if you play it right, your grandkids will be eating caviar while the world burns.
Cold, but true.
So let's recap. During the Great Depression, some cried, some hustled, some lost farms, others bought skyscrapers. Some begged for bread, others invented supermarkets. Some made soap operas, some made loan sharks. Some went broke, some built dynasties.
And the consistent theme, chaos is a ladder.
Exactly. When the world goes to hell, a few people always manage to sell tickets to the show.
So the next time someone says, we're heading for a recession, remember, someone's about to get filthy rich.
And someone else is about to starve. That's the brutal balance of capitalism.
And on that cheerful note, we wrap up today's episode of High Risk Equals Cold Cash.
Stay risky, stay cold.